Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's session, Innovative Ways to Engage Technology in Your Senior Living Community. My name is Kim Roque. I'm Director of Leadership and Growth here at Lutheran Services in America, and we're so glad you all could join us today. This webinar is part of the Lutheran Services in America's Strength and Service series, which is laser focused on examining and tackling the unintended consequences and uncertainties in today's climate, all with the goal of helping your organization move forward. I'm pleased to introduce our guest speakers from INZL today. Lydia Nguyen, lead researcher here, Carl Schweitzer, Enterprise Sales Executive, and Susan Turney, Director of Program Partnerships. INZL is a strong partner of Lutheran Services in America and provides content-driven engagement to create meaningful experiences for older adults by connecting them to the world around them. INZL is now the leading provider of person-centered content to the senior living market and a critical part of the resident experience in more than 3,700 assisted and independent living communities, nursing homes, memory care settings, and adult day programs across the United States and Canada. Today, the INZL team will discuss their timely research on the impact of COVID-19 on social isolation and quality of life of older adults, as well as to provide a live demonstration of INZL in the ways that communities are enabling seniors to share conversations and experiences with each other, their caregivers, and family members, regardless of cognitive or physical ability. Lastly, INZL will share resources on federal grant funding available to bring this technology to your skilled nursing community. We'll have time for Q&A at the end of the presentation, so please feel free to enter your questions in the chat box at any point in time. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the INZL team. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're very happy that you're here. We know you're all extremely busy, and we appreciate you sharing a little bit of your time with us. We'll do a brief introductions for our team, and then we'll get started, tell you a little bit about INZL, our focus, and as Kim mentioned, we really are focused on bringing person-centered content that's curated with the senior in mind. And we'll tell you a little bit about how we do that, some of the results we've gotten from research studies that we've conducted, and a little bit about some alternative funding streams as well for those of you that focus primarily or serve primarily the skilled nursing market. So we'll talk through that. Go ahead, Lydia. So I'll start off with just a little bit about who INZL is and a brief demonstration of the content and platform, just so you have an idea in terms of what we're talking about. And then Lydia Nguyen, PhD on staff, she's the lead researcher. She'll walk us through some fantastic results we've done from research studies. We've done research studies with a number of different organizations, and I won't steal her thunder, but the amount of the positive results we've gotten from reducing social isolation, increasing engagement from both the seniors that we serve and also their caregivers have been extremely strong. So we'll share that to you. And then lastly, we'll close up with some information on the CMP, Civil Monetary Grant Program, led by Susan Turney. And we think that's, we're getting great feedback or great response from that for the states that participate in the program and have grants available. So we'll walk you through that process as well. Go ahead, Lydia. So one thing I wanted to share, just start us off with a quote from a client. The part that I focus in on, if you do right for the residents and everything else falls into place. INZL is the epitome of a mission-driven company. We were started about 23 years ago by a group of friends who had the idea in the late 90s to start giving away personal computers to senior living facilities. They weren't trying to start a business or anything. They just thought that, technology was taking off and seniors could really benefit from the way technology helps them communicate, or way it helps people communicate, and being able to access the internet, and really making a variety of content and experiences available to them. Fast forward 23 years, we are by far the market leader in providing curated content for senior engagement throughout North America. We have clients in all 50 states. And we really do believe that if you do the right thing for the people that you are serving, that everything else will fall in line. Go ahead, Lydia. So what, a little bit about who we are and some information, numbers that are we've been able to measure. 66% of respondents said it's absolutely essential or very important to their well-being. We always believe that engagement, decreasing social isolation was incredibly important, but COVID obviously, and the inability to interact with one another on a one-to-one basis in person, face-to-face, which the vast majority of people prefer, that was extremely reduced. So people started looking for other ways to connect, in our business, which was doing great, really went to another level. So, you can see on the screen a lot of the things that, these aren't what we thought would be beneficial to the residents of the communities. This is what they tell us. How they use our tools and what it means for them. So it's to create, and obviously a more connected and more engaged resident is healthier, happier. Their family feels better about what's going on with their loved one in the community. And it really does help to create a more positive, more beneficial ecosystem. Go ahead, Lydia. So just a little bit idea, just in terms of our footprint, who we are. You can see from every little pin on the map, is a existing client. So we're in all 50 states, a number of provinces as well. I'm not sure if LSA is on the Canadian side of the border or not, but we have over 5,000 unique content items. Again, we curate the content. It's not just a system that allows access to the internet. There's nothing special about that. But we select the content and we select the controls on the tool with the senior in mind. You can see, all the quotes that clients have provided us over time, which we, obviously find incredibly. We're going the right direction with what we do, so we appreciate that. And then the other thing I'll point out is the 62% Net Promoter Score. Net Promoter Score is a score that indicates how well people appreciate your product, and 62% is a really strong score. That's right up there with Apple. So, people love their iPhones, iPads, what have you. So those are the type of scores we get as well. Go ahead, Lydia. So again, some numbers, what is the impact of an engagement? What does this mean to you as a provider of services to the seniors that you're caring for? They think from a senior perspective, it helps the staff to know their interests. It helps to strengthen their relationships with their staff. It helps them engage in meaningful activities. But from a staff perspective, it helps them learn more about the elders' interests, helps them connect better. I don't have to tell any of you about the state of turnover in the industry. One of the questions that we constantly get is, hey, is there any way that this can help with onboarding new staff? Is this a way to help them connect better with Mr. Jones and Mrs. Smith? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And then if the residents, know that the staff knows them, feels more engaged, again, there helps them be healthier, happier, more engaged. The family feels like the resident, in your care has found a new home, and hopefully they'll be staying there for as long as it's appropriate. Go ahead, Lydia. So these are some numbers, just wanted to share, what is it, some quotes and numbers. These are, again, from our clients. These aren't our quotes. These aren't our numbers. Great numbers in terms of quality and life improvement. I feel at home. That's really powerful. I'm connected with my family. I'm known and I matter, that everybody wants to feel that way. So, our tool obviously isn't the silver bullet, but it definitely helps to reinforce this, helps to make this, more possible with, limited resources and limited time in the day. Go ahead, Lydia. Again, improvement in mood, hugely important increase in social activity, participation. One of the nice things you can do with our tool is you can see, at your community level, which activities are you using the tool for? Are you using for music? Are you using it for physical therapy? Are you using it for games? If you want, you can actually get down to the individual resident level and see which residents are participating more in which activity. So it might give you an idea just in terms of what they like. Again, helps with that connection, helps to foster that, that environment, really increases the social cohesion. So that's incredibly reinforcing and incredibly important. Go ahead, Lydia. And then family, family, they need to know that their loved ones are being cared for. They need to feel that the staff has their loved ones' interest at heart. We have Zoom built in as our communication platform of choice. So family members can do Zoom calls directly through our platform, directly with their family members. Up to seven people on a call. Family members can do things like provide photos of recent trips. They can post things that are favorites for grandma, grandpa, their own uncle, in their onto the resident's own personal page. So really try to personalize it, individualize it, and increase the strength of that connectivity. Go ahead, Lydia. And then obviously also incredibly important, the staff resident relationship. If the residents think that IN2L helps with strengthening their relationship with the staff, that can be incredibly empowering. Budgets are tight, turnover is a challenge, finding new people is a challenge. Unemployment is, extremely low all across the country. But anything that helps to really help create that culture of giving, that culture of caring, that can be incredibly powerful. Again, our tool can help reinforce that and help be a crucial component of that building block. Go ahead, Lydia. Now I'm going to switch screens real quick and show you my system. It's going to sleep. Bear with me for 1 second. Where did it go? And you should all be able to see my screen now. So IN2L, we curate content, as I mentioned. We have about 4,000 pieces of content on the site. It's designed with the senior in mind. Number of things I'll highlight or point out. It has very easy to find controls. The buttons are nice and large. If there was something that was particular to LSA as an organization, you could actually put a button right here in this empty spot for the. Oh, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't see your demo screen. I just see the PowerPoint with the IN2L demo written on it.
Oh, okay.
You need to go up to the top where it says view options, and you will see the option to choose Carl's screen as view.
Oh, thank you.
And Carl, you may want to bring down your email in the background. It's a little distracting.
Oh, I didn't know that was up.
There you go.
What happens when we have way too many windows?
Carl's been working hard today.
All right. Let me stop sharing for 1 second. And then get all this shrunk down. Apologize profusely. Okay. Too many open windows. Apologize about that.
Not to worry, Carl. You're doing great. I'm sure we've all been there in all these Zoom calls that we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Normal.
All right. Is that better?
That is perfect.
Looks great.
Okay. All right. So, number of things I'll point out. There's resources. It's not really the intent, but you can browse the internet using the tablet. Have a number of sites preloaded in here. You can also just browse to any other site right here, and just type in the URL, and it'll navigate just fine. But we do have quite a bit. We have a pretty deep well of content here. Worship, virtual worship. We have content for all major religions, and you really drill into things that are applicable to you as an organization or as an individual. And then a number of things here. If you want videos, devotions, videos with vocals, music only. Quite a variety of items that you can choose from. Now, I won't. Some of the things that are the most popular: music, always one of our most popular items. Online jukebox. This one is really neat. The depth and breadth of the content is pretty amazing. Everything from early 20th century bluegrass, big band, Christmas, country. All the way up to classic rock. If you have boomers moving into your communities, that might be what they consider classic music. So that is certainly something that gets widely used. Another thing that gets used quite a bit, games. We do try to, I'll highlight this Mother's Day being Sunday. That's an easy example. Our team really does try to keep these topical and thematic. In a couple of weeks, Memorial Day be coming up. We'll have Memorial Day themed games. And this gets updated frequently. All content is updated on a monthly basis. So, we have with about 5,000 pieces of content, about 8 to 10% of it gets updated every single month. So we're constantly trying to keep it fresh. We also have resources for staff that lets them know exactly what's new at any given time. And it shows them also activity suggestions, events suggestions, and so there's quite a bit you can do there. Also, maybe if you want to have movie night or something like that, we've standardized on Saltbox TV. And it has a pretty deep well of content, and it really just depends what you're trying to see. Now, this is just featured, and you can see all the new stuff just added. But it's not just for entertainment, for just sitting there. Some of it can be more wellness focused, if that's really what you're looking for. Senior fitness, Tai Chi. If you have memory care at your facility, we have a deep amount of Teepa Snow content as well, which can be very useful for both your resident, their family member, and the staff as well. Maybe the family member, you want them to know what their loved one is beginning to experience or is experiencing. Maybe for the staff members who has never worked in a memory care setting before, so that way they know exactly what the residents are going through, and what their reality is like for them. So that can be extremely helpful. But then we also have just good TV shows. Dick Van Dyke. Well, that's one thing I actually used to watch a lot of when I was a kid. So yeah, there's quite a bit here, and that's always getting refreshed, always updated. I mentioned Zoom. You can do video calls right from the system itself. You can actually program for the particular resident. You can program their loved one's information directly into the phone. You can text from the system itself. So quite a bit you can do, and really just meant to enhance that connectivity and enhance that engagement, keep them connected to the ones they love, and being able to manage that all from a single platform. Also show you some of the, we also do try to keep, hey, here's what's new, make it easy to find. So it'll tell you, it'll tell, this is more for the staff, but hey, here's what's new in the system this month, what's going on. Travel, in case you might want to, do a virtual walking tour of national parks or something, or maybe a European city. So that's all, keeps the staff updated in terms of what's going on. And the day, on this day, this is really neat. On this day, historically, what's going on, historical events that happened today, siege of Iranian embassy in London. So quite a bit that's there, and it's really, really deep well of content. And with that, I'll stop sharing. I'll stop the demo, and I'll turn it over to Lydia to talk about some of the great research we've done.
Thank you, Carl. I think you should be seeing my slides again. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay. So today I'm going to be going through 3 of our tablet research programs that we conducted during the COVID-19 pandemic. So the first program is the Alzheimer's Association's Project Vital, which stands for Virtual Inclusive Technology for All. And we worked on this with the Alzheimer's Association as well as the University of South Florida. And this particular program was started to try to help mitigate the negative effects of social isolation and loneliness during the COVID pandemic. And in the first 2 phases of this project, referred to as Project Vital 1 and 2, we focused on feedback from staff at senior living communities, specifically related to staff perceptions of the residents' feelings of social isolation. Then in the 3rd phase of Project Vital, which is also known as Project Vital at Home, the goal was to evaluate the impact of the INZL tablets on enabling engagement and connection for people with dementia and their family caregivers who were living in their own homes. And the population here was specifically the family caregivers, and we were interested in looking at how we could improve engagement, connection, and well-being while decreasing loneliness. And we also looked at the use of the Alzheimer's Association programs. Those included things like education groups and support groups. And then the last project I'll talk to you about today is the Area Agency on Aging, or AAA, of Broward County in Florida. And the goal of this project was to evaluate the impact of the INZL tablets on keeping older adults engaged and connected, specifically those who could no longer utilize the AAA senior centers or adult day centers that had closed due to COVID restrictions. So there were 2 populations of interest in this program: the independent older adults who were living in their own homes without dementia, and they utilized the senior centers pre-COVID. And then we also looked at the family caregivers of people with dementia who utilized adult day centers pre-COVID. And the factors of interest here are similar to what we did with Project Vital at Home, namely improving engagement, connection, and well-being while decreasing loneliness, as well as decreasing feelings of depression and anxiety and caregiver stress. So I'll go into the results a little bit here, starting with our senior living community program, which is Project Vital 1 and 2. So in Project Vital 1 and 2, we had a total of 105 responses from senior living staff who rated the statements that you see on the graph here on a 5-point scale between strongly disagree and strongly agree. So I'll first orient you to this graph. In communities that had a separate memory unit, staff were asked to rate statements separately for residents with and without dementia, so taking into consideration those 2 different populations. And the gray bars represent communities without a memory unit and residents who did not have dementia. The orange bars, which are the middle bars, represent communities that did have a memory unit, but residents who did not have dementia. And then the blue bottom bars represent communities that did have a memory unit and residents who did have dementia. So across all those items, you can see in general, there's similar consistency across the ratings that the staff members provided. So looking at the first item, we saw that staff agreed that residents struggled with loneliness since the implementation of COVID-19 precautionary measures in the community. But importantly, looking at that second item there, staff also agreed that the INZL tablets were useful in reducing residents' loneliness. Additionally, staff agreed that the tablets made it easier for residents to stay in touch with their family and friends, and all that obviously could contribute to reductions in feelings of social isolation and the reduced loneliness that they also agreed with. One staff member did also note that the families appreciated the video calls, saying that the families enjoyed the video chatting. So having that as an option for family members to connect was valuable as well. We also asked about mood. So survey responses showed agreement from staff that the residents also struggled with mood since the implementation of the precautionary measures. But again, that second item there, we see there was also agreement from the staff that the tablets helped to improve residents' mood. The boost in mood that we were seeing may be partially related to staff agreement that the residents enjoyed using the tablets, seen on that bottom item on the graph there. Additionally, I don't have it on the slide here, but staff members also enjoyed using the tablets with the residents with an average rating of 4.5 on the same scale. I think this is partly exemplified in a quote from a staff member who said, "I have used the INZL tablet in my memory care unit. The sing-alongs and the old programs like Lone Ranger, etc., are fabulous. It makes a huge difference in my residents suffering with sundowners." So being able to kind of utilize the different content items on the tablet has been helpful for staff members and could contribute to the improved mood of the residents as well. So switching gears to our in-home programs for Project Vital 3 or Project Vital at Home, participants were asked to complete a pre and a post survey, which were about 7 months apart. And this data is from 124 family caregiver participants. So on a standardized measure of loneliness, we found that about 1/3 of the caregivers felt less lonely at post compared to pre. And so having that kind of number in the midst of the COVID pandemic is quite significant. And in regard to the Alzheimer's Association programs, over half of the caregivers indicated that the tablets improved their access to these programs, which included, like I said, education programs and support groups. So being able to increase access to these types of vital caregiving resources is also a significant finding for us. On the right, we see the impact of the tablets on caregivers and their family members with dementia. Percentages here reflect the percentage of people who either agreed or strongly agreed with each statement at post. So I'm just going to call out 2 items here that are specific to the caregivers. The first is the very top item, which 77% of the caregivers agreed that the tablet is another tool in their toolkit to engage their family member with dementia. So they were able to use the tablets as a kind of a tool that they could rely on when they needed it. And then the third item down, 56% of the caregivers agreed that the tablet helps to alleviate some of their own caregiver stress. I also want to point out the last question on the graph here about the tablet helping their family members reminisce, with almost 50% of the caregivers agreeing with that. So reminiscing, as many of you probably know, can have very powerful and positive effects for people with dementia. So it's valuable that the tablet has been able to help with that as well in some of these cases. Okay, final program I'll talk to you about is the AAA program. So the older adult participants in this program completed surveys at a pre-time point before they received their tablets and at 3, 6, 9, and 12 months following receiving the tablets. And I'm excited that I get to share the 12-month results with you all today. The data on this slide is based on responses from 24 independent older adults. And in that bottom left box there, you can see some more demographic information. So from pre to 12 months, When comparing those two time points, we found that a third of the older adults felt less lonely, over half had fewer feelings of depression, and almost half had fewer feelings of anxiety. So again, just as a reminder, this project took place during the COVID pandemic. So during this time, most studies have found increases in such measures. So the fact that we're seeing these types of reductions is quite striking. And this data is based on standardized measures so that we could score each individual and then compare them between the pre and subsequent time points. And just as a note for the measures for depression and anxiety, these measures were just used to screen for these feelings. We were not providing any sort of diagnosis of depression or anxiety. We also asked these older adults about their tablet-specific experiences, and you can see those questions on the graph on the right. Overall, we saw that their well-being was boosted by tablet use. 100% of them agreed that they enjoyed using the tablet. We also had high levels of agreement that the tablets helped them to relax, pursue their interests and hobbies, add enjoyment to their day, help them learn new things, and engage in meaningful activities. We also had a high level of agreement that they like to use the tablets when they're feeling sad or down. And I think the quote on the right, the rightmost quote in the yellow box, helps exemplify this. This individual said, "I live alone, so using the tablet takes being alone away. When I'm on the tablet, I don't notice how the time flies." So it kind of demonstrates how they could use the tablet to escape feelings of sadness and loneliness. Now, for our other population in this program, we had this data is from 21 family caregivers of people with dementia. We found that on the same measure of loneliness, that about a third of the caregivers felt less lonely at 12 months compared to the pre-time point, which again is notable given that this was during COVID. And just across all the programs that have used this loneliness measure, it's the same one, so we can kind of have a consistent measure. If you look at the graph on the right, we see that caregiver well-being was positively impacted by the tablets. Almost 3/4 of caregivers agreed that the tablets, again, felt like another tool in their toolkit that they could use. And we also had high levels from caregivers that since using the tablet, they feel happier, less stressed, less irritable, like they have more time for themselves, and that they feel less isolated. Now, for the caregiver portion of this, we also asked them questions that were more specific to their family member, and we saw that there was a robust impact on the family member's well-being as well. Over 75% of the caregivers agreed that the tablets helped their family member relax, that the family members enjoyed using the tablets, and that they appeared more engaged and alert when they were using the tablet, which is always kind of an exciting thing to see when you have a family member with dementia. So approximately 3/4 of the caregivers agreed that the tablets added enjoyment to their family members' day and that it enriched interactions between themselves and their family members. And they felt that their family members were engaging in meaningful activities with the tablet. As I think we all know, it's important to remember that caregivers are extremely overworked and stressed. So the fact that we could bring positive change into many of these people's lives is important. Now, we've received a lot of wonderful feedback from our participants during these various survey processes. So I've just pulled out a few quotes here. I won't read through each of them, and I think Kim already said she'll send out these slides, so you'll be able to look at them a little more closely if you'd like, but I'll point out a couple. In the middle right in a blue box, we have a caregiver that said she was mostly angry and agitated before using the INZL tablet. Now having it keeps her occupied and she's happier. So she was able to use the tablet. Again, that kind of goes into the tablet serving as a tool for the caregivers. And then in the bottom right in a red box, we had an independent older adult who said, "I feel that my mind is getting exercise when I use the tablet. Now when I go to the couch, instead of taking a nap, I reach for my INZL tablet." So those are just nice things for us to see and hopefully for you as well. I'll just pause here for a moment. Okay, so the last piece I'll leave you with before we move into the CMP grants with Susan is to think about the challenges you and your community may face and how you might engage technology to address some of those challenges. On the slide here, you can see some examples of the types of challenges that we here at INZL are trying to help resolve and positively impact, including challenges that both residents and staff experience at all levels of senior living. And with that, I will turn it over to Susan to go over CMP grants.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for spending time with us. I'm Susan Tournier. I'm the Director of Program Partnerships here at INZL, and my role is to support communities with grant applications for CMP penalty funding. These grants are available, if you're not familiar with them, for skilled nursing communities that are certified to receive either or I should say Medicaid or Medicare funding. We have two ways of approaching our grants. The first way is a lot of times clients or communities like yours will want to apply for a grant on their own. And in that case, we support the client with the application and all the documents needed. And of course, the items that they will want to include in their grant for funding so that they can send in a nice application that will be reviewed and hopefully approved. INZL has been doing grants since 2012. We have grants in 28 states and over 500 communities. So we're very proud of the work that we've done. We are a proven grant, and generally, as long as the state is accepting applications for the type of grant we are submitting, our grants are approved. The other path that we often take for INZL grants is the Insight project. Now, these are projects where INZL will be the applicant in a particular state, and we do the grant application, and we also manage the project. So this allows communities to join the grant. And we often have up to 20 communities, sometimes more. In California, we have 60 in one of our grants. This allows communities to join the grants, get the benefits, and not have to do the heavy lifting of the grant. So these are projects that are very exciting for us and the community. Our grants are always 3-year projects, so it's funding for everything that is required or you can get over a 3-year period. The goals to the grant are reduced social isolation and improved quality of life. These are two things that the use of INZL definitely affects very quickly and is really easy to monitor and report on. We always position our grants to be a multidisciplinary approach. We really want to put the system into the community and bring all departments together to learn how to use the system throughout their day, how to positively affect their work and the lives of residents. So we encourage our communities to invite all of their staff to the training that we do on site, nursing, social services, rehab. The more people that we can train and that we can teach how to use INZL, although it's very, very simple, but just help them see the light and how they can use it in their day-to-day work, the better for the community. Next slide, Lydia. Oops, there we go. So what is included in the grants? There is always the INZL system. Each community gets to choose the system selections based on their needs. We help consult to that. We also want to choose systems that will be sustainable post-grant. And then the next two things that we include are actually very special just to grants. These are things that our clients who are not receiving systems through a grant generally do not get. The first one is multidisciplinary project implementation. This is where we send a trainer on site to your community to ensure that the systems are set up properly, all the components are hooked up, that you're able to use it throughout your community. And also we'll spend 4.5 hours training the staff that you bring into that 4.5-hour training on that date. If we can't come into your community, we're very good at doing it virtually. We just like to get to meet with you in person. And then throughout the grant, we also include engagement technology competency building. This is really unique and super special for grant clients. It includes a dedicated customer success manager that will support the community throughout the grant. So you'll have one person that you would be able to go to that would provide training, bi-monthly webinars to support ideas. If new staff comes on, be sure that they are trained and integrated. Really, they're there for whatever you need, and they're there to support usage and be sure that your community is getting everything they can out of the system. And the goal of this, of course, is to ensure that it becomes a valuable part of your day-to-day routine and that the systems and that these projects can be sustained post-grant. And then, of course, the 36-month subscription is included in the grant funding as well. This includes all the content update that you heard Carl talk about, any licensing fees with our content partners that need to be paid, and of course, unlimited technical support. Next. So where are we currently working? Well, where we work on grants is really driven by two things. One, what type of applications the state is accepting, when they're accepting applications, and of course, interest. So where we see a lot of interest for grants, that's where we'll actually decide or start working on insight projects. We're currently very active in Kentucky. We hope to get that grant submitted by the end of this month. We already have a grant approved in Louisiana, so that is going to launch in June with a start date of July 1st. And there's actually 10 open spots for communities in that grant. So if you are in that state and this is something you're interested in, I definitely like to hear from you. And then we're looking to do applications before the end of Q2, maybe the first part of Q3 for Alabama, North Carolina, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. And I wouldn't want to forget to mention that we're actually doing phase 2s of existing insight grants for Florida and New Jersey coming up in Q2 and Q3. So we've got a lot of opportunity going. But if your state isn't listed here, don't hesitate to ask, because we always have the option to just do an application for your community and your community as the applicant. Or if we get enough interest in a particular state and they're accepting applications, we start working there and add them to the list. So that is what we do here. I hope that that sounds interesting to you all. And again, if you have any additional questions, we're here to answer them. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Excuse me, thank you so much. And now we would like to open it to questions from our participants. So as you all can see, we have our chat panel open. Please do type your questions in there. Also, I just put the states that IN2L is accepting those applications in, and of course, as Susan mentioned, in addition to other individual community applications. So
Thanks, Kim. That's perfect.
okay, great. Well, wonderful. Well, as you all think of your questions, we have had one that has come in, and that is, can we use our own hardware? That's a great question.
Yeah, we are migrating towards that as a delivery model. Currently, you do need to use our hardware for that. We will be there in the future, but not quite there yet today.
Great. Thank you, Carl.
Sure.
From Rick Marshall, are you aware of any grant activity in Ohio?
That's great. Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Rick, for that question. So we actually have an Insight grant application pending review and approval in Ohio. Unfortunately, Ohio has limited their grant reviewing process right now due just to, I believe, some staffing issues. So currently they have a few applications that they need to go through, and they're looking at about 9 a quarter. So we are teed up to do something there, but they are not accepting new applications yet. And if you're interested and you're in Ohio, though, we can help you keep an eye on the website for when they do open back up. I'm sure it will be soon, and we can help you with that as well.
Great, thank you, Susan.
Yep.
And a question from the audience, does every community need its own subscription?
That would be up to LSA. Yeah, that's an excellent question, one we get pretty frequently. That would be up to LSA as an organization. If LSA wanted to, I don't know what else to say, but subscribe to the IN2L content platform and then make it available and on a community by community basis or to select communities, that is certainly possible, or each community can sign up on their own. That's really organizational preference. It'd be fine from our perspective one way or the other.
Great, thank you, Carl. And again, everyone, please feel free to enter your questions in that chat panel. I have one, and that is, so could you talk a little bit about how it's different from just surfing the web? I mean, I know that so many communities are really, having their residents just surf the web, and how does kind of this prepackaged content differ? Can you say another word about? Okay.
I'll go. Yeah, no, it's the difference. The difference is it's created with the intent to A, increase engagement, B, to provide targeted content for seniors, and C, to help reduce the lift on staff and to help make staff's life easier. So things like, the fact that we provide suggestions for staff in terms of activities, the fact that we highlight for the staff exactly, what, provide resources like printable bingo cards, if you want to play the bingo game, just as a for instance. So that's less resources the staff has to find. Some of our most successful clients are using the tool, using our platform 3.5 to 4 hours a day on average. So, it's not just a method for, going out and searching for things on the internet. It's a method. It's really a way to engage, connect in a manner that is targeted, thoughtful, and, we hope meaningful.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you.
Sure.
Another question. Are you currently seeing IN2L utilized in affordable housing for seniors? And are there any funding opportunities for that? Great question.
Since it's got the funding question in it, I'll try this to answer this one. Lydia, I may need some help on the affordable housing. We currently really do focus on putting our systems into communities. So I think that there is opportunities, particularly for our individual device in the future, into affordable housing, and even some of what Lydia talked about was at-home projects. So I think that is definitely something for our future and a place where we will be. But today we sell primarily into communities, and funding opportunities towards that. Not that I particularly work with. There may be funding, private funding sources that are not CMP. I really do specialize specifically in CMP and understand that the best. And of course, that needs to be a skilled nursing facility that is certified to get Medicaid or Medicare. But I'm sure that there are private opportunities where you could look for funding that might be available, just grants that aren't federally funded.
This
Great.
also isn't my area of expertise. And as of right now, we don't have any research programs that have taken place in affordable housing. I know there is some interest in starting to get some of the tablets made available in those types of settings. But I think, again, not 100%, don't quote me on this, but I think we're also looking at health plans that serve individuals who are in affordable housing as a way to kind of fund that kind of work.
Great question.
Thank you. All right, are there any others? Oh, perfect. Is the Virgin Islands included in the grant?
Boy, that is a good one. You may have just stumped me. It is so CMP funding is a federal fund. So if it is a US territory, there it is possible. What we do when we get a particular area that I may not have been familiar with or had the opportunity to work with in the past is I have a partner who is a professional grant writer, and she helps research the details. So I think I saw earlier you were in St. Thomas, Geraldine, because I was very envious of your location when that came up. So I'll ask to do a little research on that and get that back to you. I may have to deliver it in person though.
We would all want to come on that trip, I think.
Exactly.
Oh, terrific. All right. Are there any other questions? All right. I have one. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm the only one asking questions, but I'm very interested in the resident engagement piece. And I'm thinking of my own family now, and I'm just wondering if residents have any trouble navigating the technology, or because it's sort of organized so well that you see those learning curves really start to dissipate. What does that look like?
I can take this if you like.
Thank you, Linda.
So I think when I first started working here, that was one of the questions that I first had, Kim, and I asked about. And of course, all of our screens are touch screen. So they're very easy to just walk up to them. And honestly, if you don't really even know anything about it, you can just touch something and you start going into content. So it is, again, arranged very intuitively about what you want to do. So that seems to help, that helps as well. And of course, it is touch screen, which helps people get to stuff very quickly. But what's really special about our screens is that it really just recognizes the primary touch. So we know a lot of residents may not have the dexterity that they had at one time in their fingers, and maybe they lay their hand on the screen. So the INZL system really will pick up on the heaviest touch and really only react to that. So it definitely is designed for some of the nuances that we would see in older adults versus younger adults who are using systems every single day. But the one thing that is really special is that at the top of our user screen, there's actually a search bar. So if anybody wants to, maybe they just 5,000 contents is the best thing about us, but it can also be the most overwhelming thing about us. So if you don't know what you're like, if you want to look at flowers and you don't know where flowers are going to be, you can go to the search bar and just type in flowers, and everything we have that is a flower piece of content comes up. So residents can just choose through those things. So it makes it very easy to navigate. And the last thing I'll say about this is we also have the ability to create resident profiles. So each resident can actually have their own profile. And as your staff members begin to learn about residents' interests, they can save them underneath that profile. And that's a place where someone can go right to themselves. They go to their picture, they go in and they look, and what they like is there. So they're almost self-curating their own special engagement space. That question excites me, so.
And just to add on to that for one second, we're also getting ready to release functionality where family members can add to the residents' profiles through an app. So they don't need to be in the community, but they can add to what their loved ones' preferences are or indicate them directly from their own smart device, phone, what have you.
That is amazing. I'm beginning to think I need an INZL tablet. That's terrific. Thank you. Well, if we have any last questions, please do put the chat panel now. Oh, I'm sorry, we do have one more question concerning the tablets. Will there be tablets provided to each individual with a senior living facility, or is it one per home or a certain amount?
Yeah, great question. So we generally see is the most effective rate. Over time, we've learned probably the most effective ratio is about 1 to 10, one tablet per 10 residents, because usually sort of a kiosk, check-in, check-out sort of system. And we say 1 to 10 because inevitably somebody will, be texting with a family member or do a Zoom call with a loved one, and they'll go on to something else and they'll forget to return it for, till the next day or a day or two or whatever. And so that way you always have enough that they're accessible, but, there's not, they're not all over the place. So that's usually a good ratio as a rule of thumb.
Terrific. Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
Great. Well, if there aren't any more questions, I would just like to thank our INZL partners so much for, first of all, your ongoing support, but also for sharing your experience and expertise with us today. I really enjoyed seeing the demo. I know we all did, as well as learning about the research that underpins it. So thank you so much for that. And I would like to thank all of our participants for your participation today and your ongoing support. I put in the chat panel, but we have several upcoming Strength and Service webinars coming up. One on May 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on mental health supports for staff at Health and Human Service nonprofits, and then one on June 2nd at 2 p.m. On recruitment and retention strategies. So we are designing these webinars to help support your work, and we do hope that you'll be able to participate. So with that, I'd like to turn it to our IN2L team for any last thoughts.
No last thoughts other than we greatly appreciate your time. We know you're all extremely busy. I hope this was good information for you and time well spent. And yeah, we really appreciate it. LSA is a fantastic partner, fantastic organization, and thank you very much.
Going what Carl says. Thank you very much.
Consider that.
Well, thank you all again. We will send out the recording in addition to several other resources as a follow-up to this, and are so glad that you all were able to participate again. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.